Yo, I've been dry ranting and dry reacting to these ranting for vengeance videos, and I gotta say they are fucking astronomically hilarious. Like, I made the speed faster so this guy can sort of get through his points rather quickly because he makes like 90 of them in the span of a minute. But I've listened to a little bit of this video with the Penguin and fake comic book fans, and oh my god, let's just listen to this shit, okay?
So after looking around in the comics community and after making a few controversial videos on this channel, I've come across a harsh reality.
A few? Motherfucker, you made like 10 of them, 2,000 of them. What are you talking about? The fuck, man? Oh my god. Let's see, what is it's the one I covered yesterday with the Fantastic Four, and he was so hung up on race swaps and all that other shit. And then it's let's look at a previous one. Let's see, absolute Batman fans are completely unhinged, and he goes into a black racist tirade in this one, which explains why a lot of people don't like this video. Where is it? Something about how white people are scared of black people? What the fuck? Why would you put this in the middle of a comic book review that's completely unrelated to the subject at hand? Let's just play this. I'm gonna play an excerpt before I go back to the other one.
You're driving to work and you're enjoying your Marxist Batman comic. Try not to get robbed or shot by your fellow brothers.
Holy fuck.
I'm scared of black people. It's always cool to see.
Oh my god.
People who just...
It's so bad. And here's how it starts. There's this guy right here talking. And he says you can say more than just saying something is woke, which I agree with. You could say something more about a comic you don't like, or you could say something more about a comic you like, or you could be a little bit more nuanced than saying woke, 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 like you're talking like a parrot, right? You could say something like, oh, I don't like certain art panels here, or I don't like certain bits of the story, as opposed to saying, well, you're gonna get mugged at night by these black people, right? And that's just insane to put in the middle of a review as a counterpoint to someone else.
Sane mental breakdowns.
Like, it's so weird how, like, people who just hate certain things, you just slap the label woke into it. I'm retarded?
Thanks, bro. It's always cool to see some support from the disabled community. When you say I'm scared of black people, newsflash, you illiterate troglodyte. Everybody is.
The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away.
You can't stop looting and burning countries to the ground. Next time you're driving to work and you're enjoying your Marxist Batman comic, try not to get robbed or shot by your fellow brothers.
That is an insane response. I don't think I have to tell you much to say that, which is why this guy's videos are absolutely attacked 24/7 non-stop all of the time. He is definitely an extremist, whether you look at it one way or the other. So let's go back to Penguin. I just wanted to show that point, which is it's just insane. All right, I have seen the Penguin show, and I have enjoyed it. I want to do a review of it. I want to rewatch it just before that. Maybe sometime in March I'll do that. But here we go.
Videos on this channel, I've come across a harsh reality. There are still real comic book fans out there, as seen with the support I've received from these people who have actually read comic books. But then on the other side, there's a horde of people who aren't real comic book fans, yet act like the exact opposite. This video...
That's so funny because in my last video regarding this guy, he says that people aren't real comic book fans, and he complained about race swapping and all that other stuff. And he said that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new Mutant Mayhem movie, was woke because Black April O'Neil, but he praised the Eastman comics, the original Mirage Eastman comics, in the same thumbnail. And the original conception of April O'Neil was that she was a black woman. So I don't know if he forgot that along the way or didn't mention that, but that's something that I indeed pointed out.
It isn't just going to be me complaining and whining, because there is still fans out there that are willing to...
Yeah, and then they swapped her to be white in the TV show, and the live action movie that they did, and he never points that out or anything or addresses that, so he can't be calling people fake comic book fans if he didn't know that April O'Neil was black in the first place.
Fight. So I'm just trying to make you aware of this massive issue that we have. There's many examples in recent years of this in full force. One of the biggest examples for me is the Matt Reeves Batman universe. Yes, this universe is darker, and yes, it does have Batman as a proper detective, but that only seems so good because we've been starved of a real Batman movie for so long. The best Batman movie ever made is The Mask of the Phantasm. The Mask of the Phantasm is an objectively better Batman movie and adaptation. It's a gritty Art Deco noir Batman tragedy. No race swaps, no anti-white racism, and no character assassination.
What? What the fuck? Holy, he went a mile a minute there. No anti-white racism in the Batman. Oh, it's Ryan Kennel all over again. He wants to be Ryan Kennel Jr. He wants to be his son.
No anti-white racism and no character assassination.
All anyone cares about in this place are these white privileged assholes.
Now, how I look at that line is that it's kind of a fallacy, right? Because Selina is saying that, and she's talking to Batman, and he's white, and he's rich, but he cares a lot about the city of Gotham, so there is a little bit of a irony in that statement, and she's kind of wrong, at least when it comes to talking about the guy who is in the mask, but under the mask, he's trying to help the best he can, which is what we showed, which is what we basically showed at the end of the movie when he's at the relief and everything like that. He's trying to help people or whatever. Bruce Wayne is trying to do his best in this duo persona. Selina and some lower class citizens of Gotham is not going to be too fine with the upper echelon corrupted version of people in power, especially like the people like her father and everything like that, where he controls corrupted police and makes Gotham an even worse place than what it is. So yeah, I don't know if you're understanding that characters can feel one way or another about the system at hand, but they are allowed to demonstrate that as much as they want. And if they believe that's true, then that's true in their mind. And what's true in Batman's mind and Bruce Wayne's mind is he's not this rich, corrupted asshole. I mean, and you have to think about it. They're doing the whole Thomas Wayne thing as well. His father is a little bit deep in corruption himself, but I mean, yeah, just look at what's going on. It's about not trying to repeat the sins of the past and learning from them, and him growing from them. And maybe one day when she finds out who he really is, he could change her mind. We're talking about a movie trilogy here, and only one portion of that trilogy, which is the first one, has released. So do you really know anything that they're setting up? Probably not.
In this place.
That's why I really don't like people who just dwell on this line alone, because what if Selina learns from her mistakes too and loves Bruce even more for who he is? Like, okay, yeah, like you think outside the fucking box, man. Holy shit.
Are these white privileged assholes.
I do love this scene too. It's the perfect embodiment of Batman becoming Batman.
You're probably wondering, what does he mean by character assassination? In the Batman 2022, we aren't actually watching a Batman movie. Who actually is this guy?
What? I mean, they tell you that he's a recluse. He's been Batman too much. He's dealing with the crime families and how they're corrupt and shit, and trying to solve this mystery of what the fuck the Riddler is doing with these bombs, right? You have a good indication of what Batman and Bruce Wayne is in this movie. Granted, they show more of the Batman side, that's true, but you get the inklings of the character without all of the exposition of origin story being reamed into your head. So I don't get what is not clear cut about them explaining this character. Everything I just told you is what they do.
emo weak male who doesn't act like Bruce.
Emo weak male. What the fuck? Okay. That's already like, yeah, a guy who walks into a club and beats the holy shit out of every guard there is weak. Have you watched this movie? Have you watched it? Have you seen it? I don't think that you have, because that is no way weak whatsoever.
Aren't actually watching a Batman movie. Who actually is this guy? An emo weak male who doesn't act like Bruce Wayne or Batman. In the film, he literally listens to no.
I thought that they fucking said that Bruce Wayne has been a recluse from the people for like years. So of course he's not in his full playboy Bruce Wayne stature yet. He's been the Batman forever, beating the shit out of criminals in the dark. And then you get more of the traits of, you know, humanitarianism and fucking that coming out at the end, which is going to carry over more into the second and third movie. So what are you talking about? Like, it's called building blocks. Building blocks to characterization, which is what they do here.
Nirvana. He doesn't look anything like the character inside the suit or outside of it. Then you have all types.
He doesn't look like the character inside of the suit. What the fuck are you talking about? Hold on. Let me have a side-by-side comparison here. Alright, I think this is a good one. People watching this video, you tell me, does this look like Batman to you? Yes or no? Does this appear like this is Batman in your opinion? Yes or no? In the suit. I'm gonna give you my personal opinion. It does. That looks like Batman to me. I don't know what you're seeing. I don't, sir. I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing Batman in this image. You sound like you watched, I don't know, Barbie or something. That's what it sounds like. You didn't watch this movie. That's for damn sure, all right?
People adoring this film, even comic book fans.
Yeah, I mean, people are allowed to adore the movie if they feel like it. If that's their personal belief that they love this movie and that was their takeaway, that's fine. I love this movie as well. Like, there's no problem with people doing that, all right? If you dislike this movie, fine, but I don't think you're doing it for the right reasons. It doesn't sound constructively sound or anything like that whatsoever, especially considering we saw your rant about Barbara in Absolute Batman just because she's black, and you said that, yeah, it's a no-brainer that white people should be scared of all black people, even though everyone black does not act hoodlum or has that mentality in the slightest. So what the fuck are you talking about? That's just fear-mongering yourself. What is there to be scared of? There is a lot of rational people in this world that are African Americans, you know, and it comes with the territory. Like, there are some white criminals, and I'm not gonna say, well, every person that's a white criminal is the same on YouTube, because that is a ridiculous fucking statement. That is a broad brush painting everyone as the same. You are just a racist piece of shit that unfortunately has a mic, which I wish it was taken away and set on fire.
Reeves did was rip off Seven and The Crow and made an inferior version of them. It isn't.
There's nothing wrong with having inspirations. Like, I don't understand that criticism either. There was some dumbass in my Discord saying that it was bad that Resident Evil 7 was something that was an homage to Evil Dead movies. And I'm like, what makes Evil Dead and homages bad in the first place? Especially if you still do something original with them and it's not a 100% copy and paste. Like, that's a great thing. What are you talking about? How is that bad? Especially if they utilized it to be more original in the first place. I love Seven. I wish more people were inspired by such a great movie while maintaining their own original quality. I want more of those. So yes, I have no problem with this whatsoever.
And The Crow, and made an inferior version of them. It isn't comic accurate. It isn't Batman. And if you're defending it, you need to go and read a real Batman comic.
We know this movie is not 100% true to comic accuracy because it's making its own universe with the Matt Reeves Batman crime saga, and it's good, especially Penguin. So you're just in the minority on this one for sure.
Then another example with the brand new Penguin TV show that I was actually excited to watch. Every single person on the internet right now is hyping it up to be some sort of masterpiece. Well,
I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's great. I'm one of those people, so yeah, I love the show to death.
me, I was out as soon as I heard just one thing about it. I heard that in the show, the Penguin, we weren't actually going to be getting the Penguin. So you have the character from the
What? Let's continue.
Batman universe, the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot. You have to change his name down to Oz Cobb because you're so ashamed of what you're adapting. You're making a universe based off of a comic and you don't even have the respect to use the character's actual names.
They gave a reasoning for that. Whether you agree or not, it doesn't really fucking matter, but they said they thought that the Oswald Cobblepot thing, as much as they respect and love those origins, they didn't like the name for this rendition, and it's as simple as that. That's why they changed it to Oz Cobb. Or his name's still Oswald, his first name at least, but his last name is Cobb, so Oswald Cobb. That's his name. That's what they went with. It's not like they haven't made dark or differing renditions of characters before, because I'm pretty sure if you saw the Dark Knight trilogy and how they alter some characters, especially oh man, it's some of the characters they altered, like Raish, they changed him up a little bit, and other characters as well within there. Talia, especially Talia, she's terrible in, you know, Dark Knight Rises, but we're not gonna get into that argument. But still, it's not the first time they've done it. It's not going to be the last time they do it for the film universes. They're going to change something about these villains to make them seem at times less cartoony, and I don't mind that. I don't mind cartoony style Batman wacky stuff, and I also don't mind a character being changed to be dark, gritty, and have them make sense within the world. We've had like 50 years of storytelling, if not more, with Batman rogues gallery villains that had differing appearances, characterization, or names. I mean, fucking hell, dude. The Penguin, how he looks in Telltale Batman, he looks barely next to anything like the comic book version whatsoever. He's like skinny. He looks like an Art Deco dude. He's definitely different, but I did not mind him in that story either. I feel like it fit his purpose, even though he was fighting Batman with like a robotic arm. It was kind of funny, but you know, I was having a blast with it. So I don't see the problem if we have a rendition of the character, especially like Oz Cobb, where he is written well. He is still a conniving snake at the end of the day. Then it's totally fine. Like that's what Penguin likes to do. He likes to try to be on top, and if he will stab you in the back, he will get that opportunity and do so if he can.
Same with Batman in this universe. He's not even called Batman. He's called Vengeance. Who are you? I'm Vengeance. You want to go on?
He's still fucking Batman. You are fucking idiotic for saying that. Just because he says I'm Vengeance does not mean that he's not Batman. That's just to instill fear into criminals. You are... What a dumbass point. I'm sorry. That point is fucking stupid.
And finish the line. It's I'm Vengeance.
Like, well, like, think about it. when he says in the cartoon, I am vengeance, I am the night, he still calls himself vengeance despite saying he is Batman. He's still Batman, dude. That's just intimidation. That's just a threat. Like, what are you on about? He's still Batman.
I'm the Knight. I am Batman. You can't just cut out the part that you don't like. Then it isn't the character. And the problem isn't that the comic books are too goofy and the modern audience wouldn't be able to grasp it, because comic writers for years could do exactly this. They could come in and take a character that was once goofy and make them realistic and grounded. It's not that hard. You're just being lazy. Take one of the...
I mean, that point is kind of moot when not only people praised it for Dark Knight, with Joker, the Batman, and they praised it for Daredevil. It's just like, we all know this. We all know that these more darker stories have went into more grounded routes. The Punisher as well. So what's the issue? It's just a different interpretation of the character and the story and the lore and the characters around it.
Best comic books ever made. Daredevil, the man without fear. The ultimate origin for the character. Frank Miller managed to explain the name Daredevil without changing his name. Matt Murdock grew up as a rough kid on the streets of Hell's Kitchen. And
they didn't change his fucking name, dude. They still call him Batman. What the fuck?
everybody called him a daredevil. There you go. There's your explanation. Then he takes that name in the future to fight crime with. It all depends on how good of a writer you are. And Frank Miller is one of the best. You shouldn't even be allowed to name your film The Batman or your show The Penguin when you're not staying.
What? Frank Miller, like, this little tirade here. I'm pretty sure DC can do whatever the fuck they want with the licensing and WB, so it's up to their discretion, not yours or Frank Miller's. I'm sorry, like, he made some great stories for Batman, but he doesn't own that property, so you can't speak up for him like that whatsoever. The problem that you have is completely moot at that point. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro.
True to those characters. And once again, another massive example of this is the Fox X-Men movies. I grew up my entire life not liking the X-Men because all I ever saw was those movies. Cyclops was a douche.
What point is that? Like, okay, just because you didn't like the movies in a big overarching franchise does not mean that you can't go back and witness and enjoy all the other stuff, right? Like, fucking hell, dude. X3 I think is a bad movie, but just because X3 exists doesn't mean that I didn't like Days of Future Past or fucking First Class or X-Men 1 or X-Men 2. You know, they were fine movies for what they are. And I can go back and read other stuff and be content with it and be fine with it. I liked Weapon X a lot from Wolverine. Very dark, very cool stuff. The movies would not change my perspective even if I hated them, because a big overarching franchise, you got a lot to go off of whether you love it or you hate it.
Cyclops was a douchebag. Rogue was some annoying kid, and Wolverine didn't even look cool. And you want to know why that was?
Wolverine didn't look cool? What? Hugh Jackman as Wolverine didn't look cool? What? Okay, I can get the fucking black leather comment, right? Where he didn't wear comic accurate outfit, but not looking cool. I thought Jackman was the coolest looking Wolverine, and that was the general consensus amongst a lot of people. That one I don't agree with. Okay, I'm just saying, look, that's him, that's not me. I don't agree that Jackman never looked cool as Wolverine. Fuck that.
Why those films aren't good? Because Bryan Singer, the director, banned comic books off of the set of those films. He didn't want people reading the comics that the characters were actually from. This mentality absolutely disgusts me. These characters are from comic books. Read some of them, then adapt it. Don't race swap and don't name change. Like the film Sin City. It worked perfectly. Why? Because you adapted it and you didn't go in changing everything. And to the people who call themselves comic book fans, stop tolerating this crap. That's why I have a problem with these comic book fans. They won't actually step in and say no when a beloved character that's...
You can change something and you can make something new in a new universe. And if you want to do that, that's totally fine. If you have the authority to do that, that's totally fine. For the Batman's sake and the changes they've made and the Penguin, like, this show is perceived as S tier. So that means that the general public really love the changes that they made to the Penguin, so therefore you are in the minority as usual. Something paid off, something worked, something clicked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's fine. You want to be in the minority, you want to have the minority opinion, that's cool too. Sometimes I have that opinion as well. Sometimes I don't like shit that a ton of other people like, and that's fine. That's fine to validate that, but to say that it didn't work, that's something a little different. Like, you have to examine why it didn't work for you, but your reasons are because, oh, race swap bad. And again, we've already talked about Jim Gordon, or we already talked about Penguin's name being changed and how they said, oh, the last name was goofy, let's alter it a little bit. It's still the same character, it's still the same guy in a crime drama grounded format, just the name is different. You're hung up on something so superficial, in my opinion.
Been around for like 30 years, gets name changed or race swapped or gender swapped. Stand up and say no. Another problem that I have is the use of the
I'm gonna say yes if that character's good, so I'm sorry, buddy.
phrase in the comics. For example, ask anybody about the character Moon Knight. These comic book fans will tell you that in the comics, Moon Knight is a psychopath, and they'll say that Moon Knight has always been a proudly Jewish character, when in reality, when you read the first comics and the definitive run of the character, Doug Mench's Moon Knight, none of this is true. All of this garbage came when Doug Mench stopped writing the character, and some random dude called Alan Zelentz comes in and makes the character Jewish. Now say what you want about religions and
I'm sorry, man, but I gotta signify something here before you continue. Normally, in most cases, now correct me if wrong, people, but normally in most cases when it comes to a comic book character or comic book run, there's always writers that come in and come out, differing writers for something different, something new, that come in and come out all the time. There's no singular continuity for comic books. That's why it's like so many different Spider-Man comics to begin with, whether it's fucking, you know, the traditional run that they made with Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimates, or some other shit like that, having differing runs, differing universes, continuing the story with Miles. Like, there are differing writers for everything, right? So how are you oblivious to this? I don't get it. Like, every run has something different going for it. Like, the same writer is not going to be on the same run forever. Eventually they get old. Eventually, unfortunately, some writers pass away. That's kind of how life works. Not everybody is going to be on the same run. If you want a continuing comic book series, you have to eventually think about getting new writers on board, for better or worse.
politics, but I don't think that you should just be able to step in after the main writer of a character is done and just start changing things. Same with him being a psychopath. In the original comics, Moon Knight isn't some sick freak going around cutting people up. He'd never do that. If any of this happened with any other character, it would be totally stupid and the fans would have to call it out. Imagine if when Stan Lee stopped writing Spider-Man, some random dude came in and made Spider-Man a psychopath. It would be nonsense. It would get laughed out of the room. No, the character was already well established. You can't just come in and make them a psychopath or change their religion or change their race. It doesn't make sense. And if you're a comic book fan,
Again, pretty sure, I'm 99% sure here that, like, bro, again, it goes with what I said. Stan Lee, he is no longer with us anymore, so there's new people on board for Spider-Man, and mostly from what I see, Spider-Man has been just altered and changed in some aspects, but the core stays the same, even for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's a lot of that character core still remaining, right? So again, you're freaking out. We understand you don't like black people. We get it. All right, we know you're scared if you ran into Miles Morales in a dark alley. I understand.
start calling it out. You have to realize that just because something happened in one comic doesn't mean it's true to the comics. Like, if I'm remembering correctly, Alfred once in a comic headbutted Superman. That sounds incredibly stupid, doesn't it? So just because something
Wasn't okay. Hold on, go back.
stupid, doesn't it? So just because
Go back. Didn't Alfred have the pills or whatever that sort of temporarily gave him superhuman abilities. Wasn't this from Injustice, right? Where he was trying to help out Bruce and they took the pills and he headbutted Superman and this is what happened. I thought they explained this in that story. Again, you could say, oh, I don't like it. That's whatever, but it had an explanation as to why he did damage here with this sneak attack. I don't think you read this comic. I'm just sort of putting that out there, right?
That sounds incredibly stupid, doesn't it? So just because something happened in one comic doesn't make it canon. YouTube comic videos and short form content like TikTok and YouTube Shorts are
Oh man, dude, trying to highlight canon in DC. Good luck with that.
gaslighting people to believe that these bizarre one-off stories, that's what the comics are. That's what being comic accurate means. When in reality, not one bit of this is true. Stop getting your information about comics from TikToks and these YouTube videos. They're lying to you. If you want information about comic books, just go read the comics yourselves. Go before the year 2000 and you should be good on almost every character. So if you enjoy any of this stuff, or you like the Penguin or the Batman, good on you. But for the love of God, please don't call it comic book accurate. And if we're being truly honest, it shouldn't even have the name the Penguin or the Batman, because that's not what they're adapting. And lastly, just
that's just so fucking condescending. Like, what the? Ah, shit. So my computer, like, reset in the middle of this, like, stupid bullshit, random ass rant he was doing about, oh, go read the comics, go read the comics, go read the comics. I don't know, April O'Neil's black in the comics, go read the comics. He was doing all that shit, and my computer died. So I think this is the point where I stopped originally.
TikToks and these YouTube videos. They're lying to you. If you want information about comic books, just go read the comics yourselves. Go before the year 2000 and you should be good on almost every character. So if you enjoy any of this stuff, or you like the Penguin or the Batman, good on you. But for the love of God, please don't call it comic book accurate. And if we're being truly honest, it shouldn't even have the name the Penguin or the Batman, because that's not what they're adapting. And lastly, just a small tip to get the truth and the proper information about comic books. Stop listening to fake comic book fans that are more interested about how many body parts they can mutilate on their own body, and start reading the proper comics from the 70s and
What the fuck? Oh my god, that's crazy. So not only was he making a dig at, like, trans people, which is fucked up, you know, on social media, but he's also kind of trying to do extreme gatekeeping, which I understand gatekeeping to some extent, but newer fans getting into something and preferring a particular piece of comic book media or a new rendition, that's fine. Like, there is no problem with that whatsoever, in my opinion. If you like Penguin and you prefer that version of the character, then cool. That's a DC fan, in my opinion. That's someone getting into it and not being condescending to others, saying that the other versions of Penguin does not matter. I could see if someone said that and you might strongly disagree with them. But if they're not doing that, then whose feelings is getting hurt there? Like, that's fine. Like, what the fuck? You know, and sometimes everything in the comics doesn't really translate well to film media. I believe they took liberties with Thanos in Marvel Cinematic Universe for Infinity War, and it turned out fine. That's like $1 billion movie. It's a really good movie too, and they took liberties with his story. It's not about him chasing like some wool, you know, across the universe, a woman, you know, death. It's about him kind of getting tired of civilizations fighting over and over and over and over and over again. They took a liberty, and creative liberties can work out to a positive benefit, especially if done well.
80s, then make your own opinion. So if you agreed, let me know. And if you disagreed, go complain to your boyfriend.
Yeah, this guy's channel's trash. Oh my god, what a headache inducer.